BeamNG.Drive is a peculiar game. Most people's first impression is that it's a crushing game, but it's actually much more than that. While other simulators usually only focus on a specific genre, for example, racing, trucking, farming, flying, and etc., in BeamNG.Drive, you can drive regular cars, supercars, trucks, buses, and other variety of vehicles. And that is what makes this special. It is an amazing sandbox and simulator. Let's start from the beginning. BeamNG.Drive was released on May 29, 2015 for early access. The game was developed by BeamNG GmbH, headquartered in Bremen, Germany. Currently, it is on version 0.33, and even though it is technically not a full version yet, it is definitely feels like a release game. The latest update has added a new mid-size truck, updates for another truck, new parts for vehicles, and map improvements. When you first loaded into the game, you are greeted with a launcher. From this launcher, you can launch the game or access the mod folders, do some cleanup, and more tools. When you press the option to launch the game, it will launch you into the actual game and it will give you a menu, which looks a bit outdated from 2024 standards, but otherwise it still works fine. From here, you can enter into free roam or into other modes such as campaigns, scenarios, time trials, garage modes, and beta career mode. And you can also access the options from here. My only complaint about this menu is that even on the high FPS, it does seem a bit laggy, but there's an option for new UI in specific menus, which are way better, so we can expect a UI update to take place sometimes in the future. In a game about cars, the most important aspect is of course the cars. Currently, the game offers 37 vehicles, ranging from sedans, minivan, pickups, heavy-duty trucks, supercars, and some classic cars. For those of you coming from games like Forza or Gran Turismo, it may disappoint you that these cars are not realistic cars, as in they exist in real life. But don't worry, because the vehicles itself are very realistic. You can tell and feel how different car behaves and what strengths and weaknesses that they have. For example, the Peugeot Covet, which is based on the 1987 Honda Civic, it's not fast, but it's nimble and it's easy to maneuver. To put that into perspective, the Gabester, which is based on a Dodge Charger, is really fast on a straight line, but suffers on turns. You can feel it in the game. But it doesn't stop there, since the game also has parts modification. You can add, swap, or remove parts like the suspension, tires, engine, doors, and etc. This change can affect and really affect the vehicle handling or speed. For example, the standard ETK I-Series sedan has a 2.4-liter engine. If you add a turbo, for example, you can feel the difference in speed and handling. Another important aspect is the map. Currently, the game has 15 maps ranging from cities to coastal town, racetrack, jungle, and Italy. A scaled-down version. Of course, the maps act as a playground and offers different areas for different purposes. For example, you can drive around in the city, off-roading in the jungle, deliver goods around Italy, and you can test your ability to drive around a racetrack. The maps are detailed and immersive, and you can find a lot of hidden details if you explore it well enough. For the graphics itself, it is not the best looking graphics, but it looks pretty good, and especially if you have capable hardware, you can put it into Ultra, which really looks really good. Otherwise though, it is pretty realistic and well enough to complement the driving experience. Perhaps the most interesting aspect of its game is its realistic crash physics. BeamNG.Drive offers one of the best, if not the best, physics and crash modeling. In other games, crashes are still deadly, but most of the time you can still drive even if you hit the wall at high speeds. In this game though, if you even tap a wall slightly at 50 kilometers an hour, the car will be crushed. Even a small tap into a railing can cause the tires to misalign and not drive properly. This of course makes it harder for you to drive your vehicles, and this completely changes the way you drive. When you're racing, you don't want to hit a curb too hard or hit the wall, and this knowledge makes you become more careful when you're driving. Or you can just equip your truck with a ram and completely destroy other cars on the road. The choice is yours. Also, realistic physics means it also simulates the mechanical system of the vehicles. Remove your radiator, for example, well, the car is going to overheat and burn the clutch, and you can't really drive anymore. There are so many details in this game that doesn't really exist in other games. The gameplay itself is very simple. Drive or crash intentionally. But let's say you don't want to crash your cars and you're bored or just driving around. Well, the game also has a couple of activities that you can do. You can race, deliver cars, escape from the police, and do some other weird shenanigans that the game content offers you. You can simulate bus driving by picking up people from stops, or we can roam around instead, exploring the untouched part of the maps. Challenge yourself by off-roading a sedan, or test your driving limits by rallying. With many combinations of maps and vehicles, there are so many possible things to do. If you get bored of the vanilla content, this is where mods come in. The game has its own repository for mods, and there are other sources as well where you can get mods. It has pretty good support for mods, as there are options to manage your mods and make it really easy to install. The mods itself can be vehicles, maps, and other scripts that improves or adds something new to the game. There are many mods that are really detailed and resembles those who made by an actual dev. But they're free too. My favorite kind of mod is those which are called lore friendly. It's basically adding a new vehicle that fits in within the existing world. Another thing to note is updates. The game currently has no DLC, but each update is free after you buy the game. For the update, well, you can say it's a big one for each. Major releases are usually released every 6 months or so, and the dev is always cooking. Each major update either adds a new vehicle, a remastered vehicle, or a map update. The updates adds more variety to the gameplay and is genuinely something that you will expect from AAA studios, not some indie games. And for really big updates, they can sometimes be separated into parts. For example, in 0.31, it adds a remake of the Gabester T-series, which is a heavy-duty truck that hasn't really been updated since the game releases. 0.32 adds another content for it, and 0.33 adds the final part of the update. You might think that games like this are expensive. Well, not really. I mean, if you look on Steam, currently the game is priced at 206,000 rupees. But you can get it on sale for about 90,000 rupees. And even though the game has its soft body physics, you don't need a NASA supercomputer to run it. The system requirements are a bit heavy, of course, but at its minimum, the game recommends a 6th generation Core i3 and a GTX 550 Ti, which releases on 2015 and 2011. Although, if you have that kind of spec, you probably need to play at a bit lower resolution and set all settings to low to have a playable experience. With all these features and capabilities, you might think, does it make other games obsolete then? Well, this game is kind of a jack of all trades, master of none situation. If you want a game that focuses on one thing, then this is probably not the game for you. The maps are good, but aren't really big enough for an open world game. It also lacks variety. The graphics are okay, but there are some games out there that has a better graphic. For the vehicles, the collections is great, but there are some cars that hasn't been updated in a while. Physics is arguably the greatest of all games out there. Really close to reality. Although I have to deduct a small point for not having advanced features that some racing games have. For example, the community always asks for improved thermals for more realistic racing. Currently, the game does offer a lot of variety, but I don't think it's enough. But don't worry, since if you're thinking of doing something, you can probably do it in free roam as well. Another downside is UI, which lags even on higher FPS. But some UI has been updated with a new one, so we can expect a full update later. For now, the most I can give it is probably a 7. There are a lot of settings for graphics, gameplay, keybinds and more. It is generally really customizable, but sometimes it is really hard to find options for specific things, since there isn't a universal search bar that you can find. Mod support are another good things about this game, although there are some mods which aren't gonna be to expectation, and the updates for the mods can take a long time to release. Dev support though is really great, and the devs keep pushing updates really quick. You can get about 2 or even 3 updates in a year. I mean, that is quick. In terms of price, it is a bit expensive, but if it's on discount, then I say it's really worth it. System requirements are a bit high, but for those who can accept lower graphic settings, then it is playable at least. Overall, the game at its current state is a marvel of physics that no other games can surpass. There are some things like the UI and option that does feel a bit clunky and unfinished, but the game is technically still in beta. It's like being served a mediocre appetizer, but a really great main course. Besides, you can't find experience like this anywhere. Sure, the racing aspect may not all be there, but what else can you experience? The worry of crashing your car and trying to push your car to the limit. It is very close to imitating real life. In conclusion, BeamNG.Drive is not a full-blown racing sim. Or is it an open-world driving game where you explore the world? Yes, you can do that. But at its core, it is a physics simulation that uses cars. It is a sandbox of exploration. Experimenting and trying stuff is what this game is to its players. That's why, as of now, there aren't really any other games to compare this to. Maybe in the future, but for now, it is the best driving sim in the world. Overall, the rating is 8.25 out of 10 for reasons that I mentioned above. If you want to experience the realistic driving simulator, then I absolutely recommend you to buy this game. That's all from me today. Thank you for watching and have a good day.